Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome you all to the fourth Breathe In Dialogue as a part of the Cleaner Air and Better Health Project, also known as the CABH project. The Breathe In Dialogue series are a series of webinars with a view of generating a community of people with know-how on indoor air quality issues, concerns, and solutions. The dialogues are held every month around four thematic themes, um, which is regulatory convergence, integrated design and technology, monitoring and management, and open awareness and communication. These dialogues are curated by us at Environmental Design Solutions, along with a knowledge partner, the Society for Indoor Environment, SIE. Today, we have leading experts and change makers representing various domains such as medical field, media, technology, and solutions, exchanging their journeys, experiences, and facts on indoor air pollution. You can look forward to an engaging discussion with our esteemed panelists and participate in interactive sessions. So let me begin with a little brief about the CABH project. It's a 5-year project supported by the USAID with the aim to strengthen air pollution mitigation and reduce exposure to air pollution in selected regions in India. The project is implemented by a consortium led by the CEW and includes Environmental Design Solution, ASAR Social Impact Advisors, Vital Strategies, and Enviro Legal Defense Firm. We aim to achieve the project's objectives to strengthen air pollution mitigation and reduce exposure to air pollution in India through consultative processes, evidence-based, and targeted approach. The consortium is working to scale solutions across the states in the country. We are piloting innovative models to tackle the emission and air pollution in different sectoral interventions. We are talking about forming an ecosystem that enables adoption of cleaner practices in multiple sectors and between various stakeholders to accelerate clean air goals. This will be done by creating a result-based, impact-oriented playbook to scale solutions and influence the clean air disclosure. All of this is based on a 5-pillar solution map, which consists of enabling monitoring and regulatory reforms, using the data for decision making, sectoral transition to clean energy through innovative solutions, empowering citizens through outreach and awareness, and finally, equipping institutions with relevant capacity for informed decision making. The Cleaner Air and Better Health project is built on the foundation of innovation, the synergy of integration, and the commitment to implementation for a lasting impact. When we consider the impact we aim to achieve, we are targeting a nearly 50% reduction in air quality improvement in the areas covered by the CABH through various interventions. It's about creating a legacy for cleaner air and better health. By building solutions that scale and institutionalize best practices, we are ensuring a brighter future for all. I now invite my colleague Nidhi Gupta to set the context for today's dialogue. Also, please feel free to use the chat function to ask any question and give any comments. We will also have some interactive poll sessions during the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipanjali, and I welcome you all for the first of the Breathe In Dialogues of the year 2024. And this is the fourth dialogue of our series. The first three dialogues were technical, centered on topics like cleaner air for healthcare. And then we looked at what kind of metrics and standards are available for indoor air quality. And the third one was looking at focusing on prioritizing pollutants and identifying which are the pollutants of concern in our homes and our workspaces. Today, we'll do it a little differently. We'll take a step back and look at what you and I can do in terms of making our spaces, our environments healthy for us and our loved ones. So our awareness on air pollution has, begun to emerge, especially now as as the harmful effects of urbanization, industrializations are now becoming very visible. The air has become denser in many of our cities today. As per statistics, air pollution is one of the leading causes of death worldwide. And it's not only the outside air, right? It's also the household air pollution that is gaining that attention today. Considering that we are spending an increasing amount of time indoors makes indoor air quality very important. Studies have shown that there is a correlation between exposure to poor air quality, impacts on health, whether it be chronic, neurosensory, headaches, discomfort, etc. Studies are also showing that indoor air quality can be much worse than outside air. Now, as individuals, we are taking a lot of efforts to improve what we can do with what is available with us, right? For our indoor air quality, be it through cleaning regularly or servicing our air conditioners, servicing our filters, adding air purifiers, opening our windows, allowing for light and air. And some of us are also looking at, installing indoor air quality monitors so that we can monitor how our air quality is. I'd like to request you to participate in one of the polls that is coming up on your screens. Which actions do you normally take to improve the indoor air quality at your homes? So many of us are taking many actions simultaneously, opening doors and windows, regularly servicing our air conditioners, using exhaust while cooking, as well as opening, some of us are also using air purifiers. Okay, but how effective and reliable are some of these strategies, and to what extent? How do I know if I'm doing the right thing at the appropriate time and whether that action is actually materializing to having an improved indoor air quality? How often should I be changing my filters? Considering outside air is so bad, how effective is it for me to open these windows? Was air pollution really as bad as when we were growing up? Or is it just suddenly that because things have become visible and now, indoor air quality is also a concern because we are locking ourselves inside? What role do plants play? All these and many more are some questions that we'd like to address today. So while there are efforts being made, to get the blue skies back in terms of regulations and standards, what efforts can we as individuals take to ensure that every breath taken indoors contributes to a healthier, happier, and a safer life for us, is a thought that I'd like to leave with you today. With that, over to you, Dipanjali, to introduce our experts and the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. So today we have a diverse group of experts from medical field to journalism to technical solution providers. So starting with Barun, Mr. Barun Agarwal is a serial entrepreneur with a versatile background and international experience spanning around 25 plus years in several continents. Currently, he heads Breathe Easy Consultants, an indoor air quality solution provider focusing not only on indoor air quality, but also energy conservation. He is a member of ASHRAE and is a founding member of IEQ Committee of ASHRAE. He's passionate about the social impact of outdoor air pollution and has co-founded an NGO, Care for Air, that creates awareness about air pollution and its health effects in India. Next up, we have Chetan, who is a climate and air pollution journalist and consultant in climate communication strategies. He was associated with NDTV 24/7 for close to 3 decades. Chetan has led editorial coverage of air pollution and climate stories and have worked with several research groups and think tanks. He is a board member of the advocacy group Care for Air and advisory board member of AQLI, Energy Policy Institute of the University of Chicago, and consultant with Respire Living Sciences. Next, we have Dr. Nilima Gupta, serving as the Director, Professor, and Head of ENT Department at University College of Medical Science and GDP Hospital in Delhi. She has special interest in allergic airway diseases. She is an ENT surgeon and has been focusing on research to understand the effects of air pollution on airway diseases. She has delivered talks on the role of environmental factors in nasal and sinus diseases. And we have Sachin Panwal, who is the founder of Yoga Clean Air. He has introduced the concept of clean air bubble. Sachin supports development of innovative solutions to address air pollution and design proof of concept for air purifier companies. He is an active member of the Society for Indoor Environment. I now request Mr. Tanmay Tathagat, Director at EDS, to moderate this session with our experts. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepanjali. Welcome, everyone. Now we have maybe 45 minutes to an hour where we can answer or start answering some of the questions that were raised by our previous session speakers, as well as questions that people have. So I would like this session to be structured in a way that we have an open discussion and going in as much depth as required. And so I would request also for all our participants to feel free to type in the Q&A box if they have any questions while we speak, and we would like to accommodate as many of them as possible. I also know that this is a mammoth task. I myself have probably 100 questions, so we may have to have more follow-up sessions. But let's start with understanding the journeys of some of the problems that we see today, and also some of how people have arrived at specific solutions, knowledge, and understanding. So I would request, starting with Barun, to share a little bit about your journey and what led you to focus on indoor air quality. How did you get where you are today?
Thank you so much, Tanmay. Very good morning, everyone, panelists and all the attendees. Thank you for that question, Tanmay. It's a long answer, but I'm going to try and keep it as crisp and short as possible. I moved back from the US with two small kids. Both of them started developing respiratory problems living in Delhi. I took a year off and took sabbatical, and I was up in the mountains of India in the Himalayas. And I woke up to absolutely crisp, clear blue skies one morning. And I contrasted that with the gray skies of Delhi. This is back in 2010-11. We have a building in Delhi called the Paharpur Business Center. And for the last 40 years, we've had very clean air in that building, certified to be the healthiest building of Delhi by the Central Pollution Control Board, run and operated by my father-in-law. So I ran back from Yamunotri from the mountains, and I went to him and I said, "You've got a brilliant building. You've got perfect air quality. Your health is good. Why aren't you doing this for others? Why aren't you helping other people?" And he said, "I've got enough on my plate. Why don't you start something?" I thought through this. I started studying the field of indoor air quality, and the 20 years of experience that he had, we took that to market, and we started Breathe Easy Consultants in 2013. It's been an incredible journey in the last 11 years. We've done more than 10,000 homes, offices, schools, malls, hospitals, you name it. Any indoor space that you can think of, whether in India, across the country, to international projects in Dhaka, in Sri Lanka, in Dubai, even in Mexico City. We've done some pretty interesting projects around the world today on indoor air quality, probably covering over 15 to 20 million square feet of space, at least, if not more. The journey's been incredible because one of the stories that I like to tell, I'll talk about, because this is about stories. I'm going to talk about two specific stories. The air quality is a huge problem globally, not just in India, because indoor air quality is a problem because of levels of volatile organic compounds, which are typically generated indoors, and carbon dioxide levels, where human beings breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. And these kinds of pollutants stay trapped indoors, and this is a problem globally. However, in India and some other South Asian countries, we have the added problem of external sources of air pollution, i.e. particulate matter and certain gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, etc. And what we've been able to do in a lot of these projects that we handle is holistically look at the solution and say, not only are we fixing the VOCs and CO2 that is a global menace in terms of indoor air quality, but how do we also ensure that people breathe really safe and clean air in terms of particulate matter and gases that are present in Delhi's air? In Delhi, as a city, for example, we burn 4,000 tons of waste every day, and there's a lot of plastic in our waste. The plastic in that, when it burns, it creates dioxins in the air, and we end up breathing that and causes a lot of health problems. But how do you fix that? So the two stories I was talking about, Diwali night in Delhi, at 2 a.m., we get a call from a mother saying, my child can't breathe and I'm scared to go out of the house into a hospital. Can you please help me out? My team goes in the middle of the night to the warehouse, picks up an air purifier. This is many years ago, and delivers it to the parents' home. And 4 hours later in the morning, we get a call back saying, thank you so much. Because of what you did, we were able to survive. My child was able to breathe a little bit better because the pollution on that night was really, really horrible. So, and the second story I like to tell people is when I get up, the reason why I get up and come to work every morning is the passion that we have. And all of us, we found our purpose is because we have so many mothers calling us and saying that the use of nebulizers, the use of steroids and inhalers has reduced dramatically with our children and with the elders because of the solutions that we have provided. So it's not just about putting a product, but it's about ensuring the end result. It's about measuring and monitoring and ensuring that you're taking care of your particulate matter, you're taking care of the nanoparticles, you're taking care of the gases, you're taking care of the carbon dioxide, and holistically ensuring that you're providing a real good solution. I'm sure there are many other questions, but
yeah, no, thank you, Barun. This is just to get to know, and very interesting that your journey started with a personal experience, and now you're providing that expertise to people to solve issues in their homes and offices. This is the perfect segue to Dr. Nilima Gupta, because there's a lot of discussion on indoor environment now, but it wasn't so years ago when you must have started your career. So we, briefly would love to hear your personal and professional journey and how you have now become an advocate for indoor air environment, and you're a very, very active executive member of the Society for Indoor Environment.
Yeah, thank you, Tanmay, and thank you, EDS, for giving me this opportunity to be here. And you are absolutely right. I started off as an ENT surgeon, and at that time, all my inclinations were towards surgery. I used to operate, and I used to love operating. I still do, but gradually now as I have been seeing more and more increasing allergic rhinitis, allergic airway diseases, and I was introduced to Society for Indoor Environment by one of my seniors in public health, Dr. Arun Sharma. He introduced me to this. Before that, we were mainly focusing on ambient air pollution, outdoor air pollution. It has always been an issue. But then, as I started interacting, started reading, I did realize that indoor environment can be much worse than indoor air quality can be much worse than outdoor air. And with COVID, and with people spending increasing time indoors, it became more and more important. And definitely, as Mr. Barun has also said, the use of nebulizers, inhalers, it has been increasing. Allergic rhinitis from 15% to maybe now it has come to up to 40% in certain areas. So, and allergic asthma in children is increasing. Though the children are spending more time indoors, still they are having these problems. So definitely it is the need of the hour. So I have been gradually now thinking more and more about it, and I'm trying to do what I can to improve this aspect.
Thank you. Chetan, uh, this is your area of expertise and work is uh, really something that we all feel is the need of the hour, because we really have to raise the awareness and engage people at every level. So we'd love to hear your journey and your professional path that has led you here.
Hi, thanks very much for inviting me to this. My professional journey and as a parent, I think it began with the focus on outdoor air pollution. I think that happened for a lot of us, around 2013, 2014, when it started hitting the headlines. But as far as indoor air quality is concerned, uh, I was pretty much a late comer to that, in the sense that it was only about 4, 5, 6 years ago when that began to hit home on how severe it can be, how harmful it can be. And the more I studied into it, the more I found that there were vast gaps. The kind of work that Barun has spoken about has unfortunately not reached that scale where it should matter. In our preparatory talks, we were talking about this, how it should matter to every home, every office, every workspace. Workspaces can be outside also, construction workers and things. So there's the awareness, the lack of awareness is something which is still not at par with outdoor air quality. I think there is a lot of focus on outdoor air quality, but not enough on indoor. So for something like AQI, that's very ubiquitous for outdoor air quality, but can we develop something for indoor air quality? Now, obviously, a regulatory system like we have for the National Air Quality Index can't be done for indoors, but I'm sure there might be some sort of scope for businesses or for air quality monitors, which can help guide people or help, keep people focused that, this is my CO2 level, this is my TVOC level, this is my, PM 2.5 level, and this is how much above the danger, or this is how much within the safe limit it is. So I think the need for awareness, as Dr. Nilima also pointed out, is a lot more. People need to be aware of it, and then they can take their own protection in their hands.
Thank you. Sachin, of course, this kind of this scale of a problem requires all kinds of solutions. And how do you bring that science into our day-to-day life and products? So please briefly tell us about your professional journey.
Thank you, Tanmay. So I was very young, actually I got my first job in a company called Nestle. So this was a tough decision for me to quit that job very, very soon and to start something on indoor air quality. That was in the year 2010. So I started working on my own, because I actually studied about sick building syndrome. In that point of time, there was a big vacuum. So I actually reached out to some professor in IIT Delhi, Professor Mukesh Khare is still my mentor till date. So we formed a like-minded group and we started working. So I see, like outdoors still people, there were some things, monitoring was happening, but indoor was totally vacuum. So what was happening, like, indoor, they were like somebody was talking about plants, somebody was talking about something else, and they were like people had specifically there was a problem. With the rapid urbanization, we were moving to the building without knowing the ill effect of the buildings. So this was a big thing. I wanted to, basically stay in this. This was kind of a passion for me. And, since I quit my job, I said, okay, let's work out something in indoor air quality only. So I started with plants, end up, doing, now we create micro bubbles, basically clean air bubbles in a micro environment where we can actually reduce the exposure of anyone. So started from, very big, small idea. Like I was very curious about sick building syndrome, how it happens, like what are the different parameters. Then we got to know different, so there was less visibility. Till date, we figured it out, like, in terms of like he was very right about the outdoor air quality. We have AQI to measure. Till date, whenever we go to the people, they actually confuse AQI with the indoor, the air quality concentrations, pollutants concentration. They measure, they say, oh, okay, I can check my AQI inside. So they're very confused. So, to comprehend with this kind of problem, it was very typical. So that's why we thought, let's create some visibility around this indoor air quality issue so that, eventually we could develop something. That's how I started. Now we are in a position, we end up like we do a lot of, so we don't go and sell anything actually. That's how we work. So typically people come to us for a solution and we give them solution. That's
Thank
how
you.
it's evolving. Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued by your bubble concept. So we will definitely have questions on that. But now let's get into questions. We have some questions that are coming up online, and I also request our experts to type in the messages and question answers whenever they can. The more the better. But let's go through, and I have a number of questions for all of you, and we'd like to cover as many as possible today. So let's keep answers crisp and try to address as many as we can. So Barun, what you're suggesting, what I could understand, that there are things that one can do, but are there any quick fixes in this problem where we have a massive outdoor pollution and indoor sources of pollutants? Is there a quick fix?
So, Tanmay, we've written a book. I have a couple of copies over here in my bookshelf. It's called How to Grow Fresh Air. And the Hindi translation of that book also just was released about a month and a half ago. And that really outlines a lot of very simple things that people can do to potentially reduce the exposure to air pollution. Some of it being indoor produced and some of it outdoor. Indoor produced, very simple quick fixes. Reduce your clutter, reduce carpets in your homes. Don't use chemicals, specifically like cleaning chemicals and other sprays and deodorants and other all kinds of sprays that people use perhaps for cockroaches, for mosquito repellents, etc. So stay away from a lot of these because they produce volatile organic compounds. When using paint, you want to reduce the kind of paint or the VOC generating paints that you would use in indoor spaces as well. These are simple things that people can really do on their own perspective. However, I've come across, I created this 7 stages of being air aware. And I want to quickly go through these 7 stages. People go through this learning slowly and steadily, and they realize that air pollution, they may start with just putting a natural plant. I call that stage 1. You put a natural plant or a few natural plants in the room and you feel, wow, I've got really good air. The second part is when they say, okay, I want to upgrade this and I think it's not really helping me enough, I'm going to put an air purifier in my room. So they go to the market, they buy a consumer grade air purifier, and there are many available, whether it's a Dyson or a Philips or a Sharp or a Honeywell, or there's a lot of brands available on the market. So that's stage 2. And a lot of times they'll add monitoring to that to tell them what is the air quality. And if they get the right monitor, as Nidhi was mentioning earlier, in terms of measuring particulate matter and carbon dioxide, then they realize, oops, my carbon dioxide is a big problem. What do I do with that? The next stage, they start talking to others and they start putting these, nowadays these ductable air conditioners are there, and they start putting electrostatic precipitators and magnetic filters and these kinds of ionizers and all sorts of active filtration technologies. And as they start reading more, they go up to a next level of understanding, which is the 4th stage. And they get a really high quality air purifier, which removes nanoparticles and even gases in the air. The 5th stage, they'll start putting machines outside their home, perhaps, which push in air through HEPA filters and a fan and ensure that it brings down your particulate matter and your carbon dioxide in your home. So that's stage 5. The next stage is when you put in a really good quality air purifier, which will remove your nanoparticles and gases and bring air from outside and get you to really good air quality inside your home as well. And then the last stage is when you holistically take care of the entire problem, ensuring that your humidity levels, your temperature in terms of heat in the summertime and or heat in the wintertime and cool in the summertime, and your nanoparticles and gases are taken care of. So these are the 7 stages of evolving into learning of indoor air quality. And the last bonus stage, as I call it, is when you also include sustainability into that. And when you look at decarbonizing your built environment so that you're not only living a more sustainable life in terms of energy, but also a healthier and cleaner life in terms of air pollution.
Thank you, and for bringing out that linkage, especially. But it does seem like that there are things that one could do, and I will come back to you later to ask about specific recommendations and also best practices. But wanted to ask Dr. Nilima that from a medical standpoint, you have just outlined in your opening statement about increasing cases of people getting exposure and medical problems. But one of the questions is it actually getting worse? What is the current state of IAQ? Was it always like this? And what has caused, in your opinion, this spike that you see?
See, I think it is definitely getting worse. The incidence of allergic rhinitis is increasing, and allergic rhinitis has a number of causes, and exposure to aeroallergens is one of them. But aeroallergens we have mostly outdoors, the pollens, but we are finding increasing allergy to house dust mite, cockroach, pet dander was always there. So these are the two, three important things which have come up. Uh, Almost all of the studies have found that house dust mite is one of the very, very common cause of allergic rhinitis. So that is there. And house dust mite can be controlled with some easy to do things. We can't control it completely because our environment is such that you can't control dust and house dust mite completely, but we can do certain things which can reduce the house dust mite. As per allergic asthma, that is also increasing, and that is more linked to the particulate matter. So, particulate matter by from tobacco smoke or from cooking emissions or these are the tiny particles that are suspended in the air. So, dust and this can lead to, because they penetrate the lung and lead to lung problems. So, asthma is mostly because of particulate matter. So these things can be, I think we'll be later talking about the mitigation strategies, but these are definitely affecting the health. And indoor air quality is worsening, maybe because of the increasing urbanization and also climate change, because climate change is also affecting the carbon dioxide levels, the relative humidity that our buildings are having. So, which from outdoor comes to indoors as well, and also the increased use of appliances in the offices. That is also the workplace environment, that is also one of the major contributors. Use of printers, use of mm, uh, we are not using proper exhaust, then definitely humidity. So all those things are affecting the indoor air quality. I'm sure we'll be talking about it later as
I
well.
think there are two things that have come out that are I have wondered, and a lot of other people do. One is about, of course, the requirement for ventilation, but does it also not bring in the pollutants in? And how do you balance for a normal household or an office? But Dr. Nirma, this one important point that you picked up is on cooking, and there's a lot of questions that we get about is the smoke that is generated during cooking affecting health in a negative way? Or are there things that we should be particularly concerned about from a cooking perspective? And if you can quickly also say, are there any solutions to that?
Yeah, definitely. Because see, Indian cooking is not about steaming things and microwaving things. It is more about doing frying. We saute. We are making use. We are used to making तड़का. हम अपना प्याज भुनेंगे, फिर टमाटर भुनेंगे, फिर उसके बाद इसकी सब्जी बनाएंगे, पराठे बनाएंगे. So all that is generating emissions. So if everyone can't afford good chimneys, but having an exhaust hood, having an exhaust which is installed in the kitchen and using it. In the sense, as soon as you start doing that cooking process, you use that exhaust so that you have ventilated the kitchen. That those emissions need to go out. They don't have to stay inside the kitchen. We may have small kitchens, and these emissions, if they stay in the kitchen, you are getting exposed to those emissions. So women and children will be especially vulnerable to these emissions. If we are using a gas stove now, biomass fuels are not being used, but they were especially dangerous. But even now, if we are frying or sorting, and if we are using and reusing the oil that we are using, so that definitely emits these compounds which are harmful to the health of the lady. So ventilation in the kitchen is very, very important.
Thank you. I think that was a great, clear, crisp answer. Thank you, Dr. Nilima. Chetan, we have had a few people in the audience also ask this question right now, that this awareness about air and what we breathe, it's seasonal. And we get a lot of attention when there is an adverse outdoor air event, mostly in the winter. And in your experience, really, one, is it really true that this is something that we lose focus on? And what is required in your experience that sustains this dialogue? Because the solutions, if we have to be applied throughout the year, and it's not really something that you can do in a spot basis, from what I hear from our experts.
Right. So, from what I've seen is that awareness plays a great role in mainstreaming health risks like air pollution. We've seen that with AQI. Now, the AQI in India came in, when was it? I think in April 2015, the national AQI was launched. And in a matter of a couple of years, this whole concept of AQI really captured the imagination of a lot of people, right? Because we had many severe severe air pollution episodes, not just in Delhi, but across North India. Many more reports started coming out, right? So awareness is critical. Now, as far as indoor air pollution is concerned, that kind of awareness is, I think, far from public imagination. It's also a very complex landscape. You've got, rural clusters, home clusters, which the Ujjwala scheme has tried to address. There has been a fair amount of success that can be strengthened according to several surveys. There is urban residential areas, both low income and higher income, which Dr. Nilima has also addressed. In buildings, I think a lot of awareness could be created very impactfully in the official complexes, modern buildings, even old buildings, where these monitors can be installed, where users, office goers can continuously see it. It will help to raise awareness, so they can see the CO2, they can see the PM 2.5, they can see VOCs, and they can sort of keep track of that. So, for CO2, and this was a learning for me a couple of years ago, as it rises, you start to feel groggy, you start to feel sluggish, you can sense your productivity going down. When PM 2.5 rises, you tend to get a headache. And I'm sure that must be the case with the VOCs also. There will be some kind of allergic reaction. So by displaying the data is extremely important. By displaying the data continuously in public spaces, and that we know happens in hotels, in metro stations, but displaying it in, say, offices, official complexes, malls, that would go a long way in raising awareness about linking the data with how you're feeling, and for managers on how much productivity is increasing.
That's a great idea, and I can see that there are instances where, of course, outdoor air pollution and the signs that we see have helped raise the awareness. And in a few cases where we have indoor air monitors, people react to it and they actively engage with their indoor environment. And Sachin, I wanted to bring this technology part and the product part in here, that for a household or an office or a public space, we're talking about metro and others, we have to have solutions that are affordable and that are available to people across all kinds of situations. So, what is your recommendation? What is the role of technology? What are the products, especially monitors and filters, that you think are available and ready to use now?
Yeah, so I mean, indoor is a very complex, it's not just about talking about 3, 4, 5 pollutants, there are many more. If we talk about then, mold and mildews will come into the picture. There are different types of, many types of VOCs, formaldehyde, PM2.5. Just talk about, we are emitting, then body particles, then something is coming from here and there, then some biological agents basically there. So it's a very complex thing. But always, this is one of the basic protocol for IAQ. Whatever guidelines has been designed, the first protocol for IAQ improvement is improving ventilation rate. And there is a catch line actually behind it. So ventilation from what? Ventilation not from polluted air. Ventilation from clean air. That's the thing. So that's how, so basically, I would be rather preferring a house there were many questions. Schools are there, schools being shut down. For what reason? The kids have been, maybe living in a place where they're exposed to more pollutants inside, right? So this has been established many times. Indoor can be many polluted from outdoor if you don't properly manage it. There are people people call us and they tell us. So basically understanding of pollutants has gone really down, So to comprehend with so many kinds of pollutants, very, 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 difficult for any layman or for say even for technical expert. And it is actually evolving science. That's why we have not stopped learning. As I know, like solution provider, where we have like 8-10 good tech people in our team from different IITs, Stanford, we're continuously learning. Every time we have a different problem when we try to solve that, right? So this is how it has happened. So there's no one perfect solution for this kind of problem. But yes, ventilation should be your first protocol. Whenever you see there is a lot of paratha smell in every room, then there is an IAQ problem. That's how we relate to it. When you see, okay, every day in my household, on my glass tops, I see a dust deposition, you need something to do about it, basically. And we try to hide things, that is a bigger problem. How do we try to hide things? If there's a smell, oh, I'll put a perfume in my room, or I'll spray more perfume in my body, or I have some diffuser in my house. That is an IAQ problem. If you actually, I have seen a lot of big houses, big bungalows, big, so they have not taken responsibility of their air. If you not take responsibility of air that you breathe, nobody's going to take care about it. That's why the air quality monitoring, that too, not for a very short term. It should be monitored 24/7, 365 days. It shouldn't be like, minutes measurement and you are happy about it. Somebody can actually, actually come and make fool of you, because they'll just quickly fix something and they say, oh, this is the value. You're not going to get fooled by these. I met people who have bought big fancy purifiers and they were told, okay, when you see this green light, everything is okay. They used to turn off those purifiers after that. This is not the kind of understanding that we want to take it forward. It's not about the technology or something. It's about spending time about it, basically, taking interest into this particular subject. So first thing, since it's a very complex thing, there are many other things. So first protocol should be ventilation management. Then we come to a point, it should be a hygiene issue. So, as Mr. Barun said and Mr. Chetan said, it's basically a very complex hygiene issue. So people they have built fancy AHUs, but I've seen, people have made AHUs inside their house and they were storing paints, varnishes, they were storing, inside. I went to a corporate office and their AHUs, people were hanging their boots, basically. It was a, shoe rack kind of a space. Now you imagine air is being transported from that place and carrying all the particles that was there. So what kind of things we're breathing? So this is actually to cut off from outdoor was a typical problem. So we started understanding how to first of all cut off from the outdoor, how we cannot let the outdoor particles enter your house. And the second approach we adopted is basically ventilation is the primary, concern for everybody. We can't let the CO2, peak to a level where it becomes, very uncomfortable. So I have met people who have, they have the fanciest mattresses in their house, fanciest air purifier in their house. And when they wake up in the morning, they rush to the balconies because they don't feel fresh. They feel trapped. They feel, oh, they have slept for a good few 8-9 hours, but they're not, no, they're not actually that, they feel restless. They go to the balconies to get that freshness. Why can't we make it happen inside that house all the time? That's how, we work out basically. So solutions are not typically, that's why, monitoring the exposure is very important. The moment we started monitoring the exposure, then we actually made it very personal. I made it personal for every individual of the in that household. So a lady who is actually involved in the cooking may be having a higher exposure than a person who was actually, actually has gone to the office and have done some work, 95% time indoor, was not involved in something where, so many particles or so many other pollutants were emitted. He might have some lesser exposure. So all the, if there are 5 households in a house, they might have a different kind of exposure. How do we cut down to a level where, there are no chances of developing them some serious disease? So it should not be how people perceive air quality or air pollution issue in India. It's seasonal. It's not seasonal. If we are not able to maintain our exposure, even the outside was 50, I have seen people breathing when the paratha was cooking. The PM levels were 300, 350. Maybe there was some polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. We put naphthalene ball, it also releases. People started using camphors. People have, so this is basically kind of a cutoff where we have to, we have some patients in the house. It's kind of a paradigm shift for everybody. The first thing we go and tell people is basically come back. Why do you broom in your house? Maybe we can do wet mopping in our houses when we have all those fancy marbles in the house. This is basically a problem where monitoring can bring that visibility. If there's a visibility, we are going to take action about it. We'll be more learned about it.
I think that's a great, we had an experience of installing air quality monitors in an office space during COVID and looking at indoor air quality as a proxy to COVID exposure danger. And what we found out, interestingly, that even though everything else was fine, there were huge spikes in VOCs. And eventually it turned out that the cleaning chemicals that were used to fight the COVID, and the things that were being sprayed were actually causing much more serious problems, and they were lasting in the space for hours. So you had everything fine, but if you just went and cleaned the office room 2 or 3 times in a day with chemicals that are not appropriate, it actually made it worse.
So half-life of basically the perfume that we have, the particles or VOCs released from that is basically close to, it ranges from days to weeks actually. So you imagine, we constantly pump all those pollutants. They are going to stay in the indoor.
I would just like to mention an interesting fact. Previously, we used to burn the kachua chap.
Yes.
The coil, the mosquito coil. So one mosquito coil is burning that is equivalent to smoking 20 to 25 cigarettes.
Wow.
So this much is the emission from harmful emission from that mosquito coil. So there are certain things which are definitely releasing a lot of harmful emission, which we don't realize, but we are getting exposed to that day in and day out. So we have to change these things that we are exposed to. Cooking oil, we can use a better cooking oil, which has a higher smoking point. So less smoke is generated from that cooking oil. Cleaning products, we can use better cleaning products, more natural cleaning products, which do not emit these fumes. So they may not be visible, but they do release small particulate matter, all these paints, varnishes. Another interesting fact I would like to tell you that a study said that pregnancy should be planned in the sense that if you are pregnant and your house is being renovated, it is being painted, it has a risk of leading to genetic abnormalities in the child. So these paints, varnishes, so they are emitting such harmful products that if you are pregnant, it can lead to complications in your pregnancy. So imagine we are
Yeah, no, this is, this is eye-opening because when you talk about paints, when you talk about cleaning chemicals, or the example that you gave of oil, we look at all other factors. We look at the health impact of the oil content that we consume. But all these other effects, they're not even documented in a way that
yes.
someone making these decisions, whether they're buying cleaning product or oil, can consider. So, Barun, are there best practices globally? You've now studied this. That are there best practices globally of communicating this? Is there an indoor air quality label that can be addressed? This is a good, because we talk about paints and there's a lot of awareness about low VOC paints, but that's about it that I hear when you look at products. But all these other things, and especially things like ventilation, which are very difficult to actually say that how is it better ventilated or not without putting in a monitor.
Yes.
Can you give us some examples? Two things. One, are there best practices of how it is managed? Also, I want to hear, as you said, stories of where people have actually solved these problems or done something better so that we know that they're not just problems, but there is a way to get around it as well.
Sure. Thanks, Tanmay. So this is a fairly large topic, right? Because now you're getting into building
You
materials.
have 3 minutes.
All right. So you're getting into building materials and building science in terms of design, in terms of choosing the right materials. And there are a couple of different certifications that are out there which talk about which materials to use in terms of lower volatile organic compounds, so that from a long-term perspective, your building is more sustainable and healthier for the occupants. One of the key things that one can do is look for the right kinds of certifications in terms of the end result of the building. For example, the US Green Building Council has certifications for LEED certification and now the WELL certification, which talks about health and wellness within an occupied space. The WELL certification, when it came out, had nearly 35% of its points related towards indoor air quality. So if you are following all of the parameters that are in that WELL standard, for example, you will ensure that the materials that you have used within that particular building or space are of the right quality, which are not emitting the kind of volatile organic compounds or emissions that typically somebody who doesn't know enough would end up spending or using. One more thing I want to just touch upon is the cost of going green. A lot of people think that it's very expensive to put a green building, and the extra cost of using materials which are low VOC or zero VOC is extremely high, and they shy away from it. However, if you look at the life cycle cost of the building, if you truly go with green products and green solutions, you may end up paying 3, 4, 5% more upfront from a capital expense perspective. But in the long run, in terms of health, productivity, and even more so, the actual cost of maintenance of the building will perhaps be lower if you go in for solutions which are green. If you talk about real life examples, Tanmay, there are thousands of them, right? I will start with our own example in our own building, Paharpur Business Center. We are India's first retrofit LEED Platinum certified building. We are India's first IGBC, the other certifying agencies like the Indian Green Building Council, GRIHA, TERI, etc. We are India's first IGBC Health and Wellbeing Platinum certified building. How have we achieved that for a building that is 40 years old as a retrofit? And I say this literally tongue in cheek. If I can do this in a building that is 40 years old, then anybody can do this in any building in this country. Because a 40-year-old building can achieve this, new buildings can certainly achieve sustainability and health parameters. And even retrofit buildings can achieve it. How do you do this? By being conscious in your purchasing decisions, by ensuring that what you're bringing into that building is sustainable. First step, I say reduce. Consumption is the bane of our society. So reduce what you don't need. Don't just buy indiscriminately. But when you do need to buy, then ensure that it is the right quality and the right kind in terms of materials. So the wood that we buy, ensuring that it is the right certified wood, which is not giving out very, very high VOCs. The polish that is done on the wood on a regular basis, ensuring that polish is done either outdoors or when the exhaust systems are on, or using very low VOC polished material, or the thinners that are used are very different quality thinners that will ensure that the VOCs that are emitted from that product eventually are reduced. So there's a whole process to this in terms of all the materials, whether it's not just the cleaning materials, which of course will have a huge impact because you're using them day in and day out. But your long-term products, your furniture, your paint, your even the bricks that are being used today, fly ash bricks, other bricks can have some of them have the potential to perhaps emit certain types of VOCs depending on what material was used to make them. So a lot of science is already there, and there are certifying bodies which will tell you what is the impact of some of these materials that you are using in a building, so that you can ensure that you have good quality air or good quality healthy air inside those spaces.
Thank you. So what I hear is that there are decisions related to improving the environment, both the general environment, but also your indoor environment. In most of the decisions that one would take in terms of building, operating, maintaining a building, whether it's a house or an office. And in some of us who are working in offices, spending more time indoors, there is a clear way to look at workspaces to be better designed and operated for indoor air quality. Those who are working outdoors have still to face the challenge of increasing pollution. And that's where I was also looking at Sachin, that, what is this bubble that you're talking about? Is it the bubble that I can carry with me, outdoor, indoor?
Exactly. So, I mean, we started having the indoor bubbles basically for indoor spaces wherever, like you have an office, you have a micro office, you have your house. We started treating all those spaces as a single unit. The air in those spaces should be in your bathroom, in your kitchen, in your living room, everywhere. It should be the same, without having so many interventions inside, because people were fed up, putting 15, 17 air purifier everywhere, so many things. So we started decongesting all those places with minimalistic intervention to uniformize the air and to cut off from the outdoor pollution. How we can make it, sustainable and for a longer term. So our job is to maintain air inside that bubble for a longer period, and our intention is to make it within WHO safe limit. Whatever has been the upgrades till date, we are actually up to the line. So this is the latest that what we could do. So our job is to maintain your.
So when you say bubble, you mean to say it's the house is your bubble.
Your house is your bubble, your car is your bubble, your office is your bubble, your school classroom is your bubble, your gymnasium is your bubble. All those places we could do it. Now we started working on something. I was working on it, like it's been 4 years now. Like even if you walk outside, we can create a bubble. We did an experiment on a larger scale for McKinsey. Now we are doing it for individuals as of now. So this will be coming very soon. So we are working on it. So if you fix your 90-95%, we could also fix your 5%, which is also very complicated. People are not very happy wearing masks, and there's no guarantee it is going to protect you. So we started having something which is not messy around it. It's not visible. So we actually what we did is we made the invisible thing visible, and which was visible, we made it invisible. That's how we were working. That's where the bubble works. That's how the bubble works. So in a bubble,
can't wait to see the outdoor one, and we have. So many people who are facing health challenges just because they're exposed to pollution. But within indoor environment, what you are talking about, is this something that a household can afford?
Yeah, so we started having it so it is like much cheaper than having purifiers at your home. As of now, still so adoption was very faster. We did it for our family and friends. And we have people who recommended it for 90 to 95 people in their circle. That's how it actually, because since earlier they were standalone examples of something, which was having the outstanding air quality. We started delivering in every home, every place we touch. So
as long as, it meets that requirement, as you're saying, 90 to 95% reduction and is affordable, it's something that can be scaled and taken up by everyone. So Chetan, how, listening to all the experts and our experiences of how things can be done in a better way, how do you take this to people who actually don't know most of these things? I didn't know half of these things. You're on mute.
Yeah, it's actually been quite fascinating listening to Sachin, Dr. Nilima, and Barun, because the way they have actually very simply conveyed the problem. On one hand, you have a complicated term like VOCs, even PM 2.5. I think a lot of people still don't understand. They may understand AQI, but the way they conveyed the messaging, paints the link between paints and the threat to pregnancies. Mosquito coils equals a packet of cigarettes, a 20 pack of cigarettes. Paratha smoke, and if you see dust on your desk, you're breathing that also. The challenge, I think, is on how to convert this into public safety awareness campaigns. The challenge is to get regulatory backing for this. So, for instance, if it's the mosquito coils which are causing this problem, frankly, I haven't really seen that anywhere. But if there is research into it, can that be published? Can that be publicized? Can it be used in situations where it's safe? I can't think of any, but maybe there is. I don't know. So that kind of evidence-based PSAs is, I think, what would go a long way in protecting people, regardless of the kind of enclosure they're in, whether it's a home, whether it's a low-income home, high-income home, or offices.
And do you see that there is a way for us to go there to get that level of?
Yes, for a couple of reasons. One, there is already an awareness about air pollution. Two, the new kinds of media that we are using, social media and all, is tremendous in amplifying solid, powerful messaging, right? Not jargon-based, not scientific reports, but simplified the way that they have been communicating. The third point is that this generation which is coming up, and most of I think the majority is under, I think, 28 or 35 or something like that. They're very aware about the environment. They're very aware about the kind of, quality of life that they want, their work-life balance, and generally the awareness is a lot. So I think with a bit of push, with a bit of evidence-based research being pushed out, there is a chance for a much greater impact than we've seen.
Great. We have maybe another 10 minutes. I will come back to all of you with a final word of wisdom for us. But before that, Dr. Nilima, there's this one question that's recurring in the question that people are asking is if we look at ventilation as being one of the solutions, plants being another solution that everyday use, we can put them in our lives, then are there any challenges when you look at, you open the air and it's very polluted outside? Is it still better to ventilate unfiltered air when is CO2, indoor dust and other things mitigated in a way, but not counteracted by something worse that we let in?
See, we have to be mindful of the ventilation at all times. If we feel that the outside air has a very high PM 2.5 and PM 10 and the AQI is really bad, it is better to keep the windows and doors closed at that time. And ventilation, when we are talking about ventilation of the kitchen when we are releasing emissions. So at that time, it has to definitely be well ventilated. When we are in winters, when we are taking bath in the bathrooms, the bathroom has to have the exhaust after we have taken the bath, because if you will retain that humidity in the bathroom, it will encourage growth of mold and even in kitchens when we have to plumb all the leakages, we have to keep it dry and ventilated. So ventilation is one of the very important things, and having an effective ventilation. The exhaust, it should not be like covered in grease and there are no pores. We tend to put a net in front of the exhaust so that maybe lizards don't enter the house. But then if it is all clogged up in grease, then that ventilation won't help. Similarly for for the chimneys, we have beautiful chimneys installed, but we are getting them clean maybe once in 1.5 years or so, maybe once on Diwali. So because it is like 1,000 rupees for getting a chimney clean. But if it is clogged and your paratha fumes are not getting sucked in the exhaust, those so they will stay in the kitchen. So effective ventilation and ventilation, we have to be mindful of the ventilation. Once you've cooked the paratha and then you've been there and then someone reminds you, oh, you did not switch on the ventilator, the exhaust, then what's the point? So that will definitely help. And opening the windows and doors, but preferably not at the time when the outside pollution is too much. Then maintaining a good temperature and humidity level in the house. Sometimes you'll go at some places, the house feels so damp, the moisture is there in the house. So that will go away only when you are switching on the exhaust and opening the windows to decrease that moisture. Sometimes when I enter my son's room, he's like, all the windows are closed, the curtains are drawn. He would not let the sun in because wakes up late and then sits and reads. So you have to let the sun in. Whenever you are getting that sun, you should let the sun in. I think Mr. Sachin will definitely agree with this. And
Definitely.
then making conscious choices that the fuel that we are using is a good quality. Things like not doing excessive brooming rather than doing a wet mopping. House dust mite, very effective control is changing our linen frequently, washing it in warm water so that those dust mites, they are killed. Cockroach is another very important allergen. So decreasing that, blocking the cracks and crevices in our kitchen, keeping less number of articles, getting that minimalistic thing. Previously, I think wall to wall carpets and heavy upholstery, that was the in thing. But now people are realizing that carpets gather so much dust. And how do you clean them? You will dust them, and that all that dust will be again released into your environment, and you will inhale that. So heavy material for the sofas. So upholstery is very important, heavy curtains. So they gather too much dust and you don't dry clean them, you don't wash them that frequently. So they keep on accumulating dust. So if we can afford, we should do vacuum cleaning at least 2 times in the week, so that we don't have to dust them using the cloth. Those practices generate too much dust in the indoor environment. Rather vacuum than dust it. Do a wet mopping, the tables, the floor, better to do a wet mopping than generating that dust using the broom. So these some mitigation strategies we can use.
Yeah, it's eye-opening. So we have to really change the way we do simple things daily that affect our air quality. Barun, the last question for you. There's a lot of questions we're getting from participants on plants. And of course, everyone realizes that they are good, but is that enough? And if you had to give some advice on what is the best way to use plants, is it better to have them concentrated? Is it better to have them distributed? Do we keep plants in a car also? I mean, what is your advice on the plants for indoor air quality?
So the first part is, yes, plants can actually be life-changing when it comes to indoor air quality. Our building in Paharpur Business Center has 7,000 natural plants inside, and they not only help in reducing volatile organic compounds and particulate matter, but they also help in reducing the energy of the building. A longer conversation to explain that. However, one quick story I want to say over here. In our rooftop in the building in Paharpur Business Center, when we were redoing that space, the way the flooring is done, we couldn't redo the entire flooring. So we decided to put the artificial green colored turf material, which is polyester based. When we bought that material and we rolled it out as a carpet on that entire rooftop, there were extremely strong odors from the vinyl polyester material, and they were very high. The VOC meter was just the numbers shot through the roof. And we were very concerned that, a building that is so proud of the air quality inside cannot be putting a material like this. Even though we had tried to get the best material possible, the VOCs were off the charts. But we decided to move forward anyways. And we said, let's keep going. Before we launch, we'll see what the readings are, and then we'll decide what to do. The next step in the process of evolving that greenhouse, that lattice rooftop, was putting the plants of the greenhouse. And we put in close to about 1,400 money plants, about waist-high plants, money plants hanging from the top to on the floor. And once those 1,400 money plants were there, magic happened inside that particular space. All the VOCs, and there's a book, right? Again, another one in my bookshelf over here, which talks about 50 house plants that are very good at improving indoor air quality. And the VOCs removing plant is actually the money plant, or the golden pothos as it's called. Within 2 days of putting those plants, the entire smell went away, and the VOC meter stopped giving a higher reading in terms of volatile organic compounds. So plants can be therapeutic. Plants can help in improving indoor air quality. They are phenomenal. However, my caveat that I have to put in there is that just putting a normal plant in a bedroom and thinking that it's fixed all my air quality problems in a city like Delhi or a country like India is not going to happen. It's not going to get my particulate matter to the levels I want. It's not going to get my CO2 to the levels I want. It's not going to get my VOCs to the levels I want. You would need literally a jungle inside a bedroom in order to even get close to where you want to get to. So you do need intervention in terms of mechanical solutions to get to the final result of really clean and healthy air. But still, plants are therapeutic. Plants are natural, God-given. There's enough science behind how therapeutic they are in terms of mindset, in terms of depression, in terms of releasing anxiety, and all of those other things. So from a health perspective, it's a great idea to put plants. Yes, they improve the air quality, but not enough to give us perfect air quality in a country like India.
Thank you. We've actually run out of time, but I still want my final word of wisdom from all of you. So maybe in 1 minute, what are the top 1 or 2 recommendations you'll have for people at home and in offices to improve their indoor air quality? I'll go with Dr. Neelima first.
I would like to say I've said enough about effective ventilation. So effective ventilation to dilute the pollutants that we are exposed to. We can't have 100% removal of the pollutants, but at least we can dilute the pollutants by effective ventilation. And then making conscious choices to reduce the level of pollutants, to generate less and less pollutants. So these 2 strategies I would like to recommend. And I would like to take a point from Mr. Chetan, that he said that we have to raise the awareness. See, where did this all plants came from? Suddenly, everyone was saying, put this snake plant, put this, and I think they marketed it so well that everyone rushed to. There are some people may not have a house big enough to put those plants, and even those plants need maintenance. It's not that they are totally maintenance free. See, I put plant in my office, it dies in 15, 20 days. So you have to have sturdy indoor plants which are also pollution controlling. So we have to raise the awareness as these plants came into vogue. We have to raise the awareness of practices that will lead to less and less pollutant generation. So the engineers, they are working on it. They are designing new and new materials which emit less VOCs. We can, as a layman, we can use and do activities that generate less and less pollutants, using good fuel, using good cleaning agents, uh, maybe doing wet mopping more frequently than raising the dust by brooming, maintaining our exhausts, maintaining our filters, maintaining our air conditioned filters, having a less number of items in our living room and in the bedroom, Just not let the clothes lie around in the house, because they attract dust, they accumulate dust, and when you wear them, you are exposed to those pollutants. So there are a lot of strategies that we can do,
I'm sure, and we will definitely, I think the interest that we have on this subject, we will definitely come back to all of you for further sessions. Chetan, what are your final thoughts on this for today's webinar?
Well, apart from the awareness thing, I think it would be to try and firstly, I would call upon the experts like we have on the panel to communicate a lot more in the simple way that they have on this panel, to communicate on, say, social media or through articles or whatever it is, on the harmful effects and the simplicity in understanding indoor air pollution. The second thing, a bit more top level, would be can we popularize the use of small, cheap, affordable air quality monitors, which can measure CO2, which can measure VOCs, PM 2.5. At the moment, I think they tend to be expensive, but even if they're sort of cheaper versions, and even if there's an error margin of, say, 5, 10, 15% also, I think it would be okay, because, at the moment, the awareness and the levels of pollution are so, awareness is low, pollution is high, even those would work. I think there might be a business opportunity over there. And thirdly, I think it would be going back to my thing, if you're an estate manager or some kind of an office manager, invest in this, invest in putting up monitoring, invest in putting up solutions, because the immediate result in your productivity, in your bottom line, is a lot. It's been proved by World Bank studies, it's been proved by Harvard reports, and so on.
Thank you. Sachin.
I would like to add a few points here. Basically, we were talking about the kitchen chimneys. So I'll just add two things to it. The kitchen chimneys, if you have a kitchen chimney in your house, just rinse it either once a week or twice a week. It's going to, reduce your exposure by a lot. Just switch your, normal, if you're using oil-based diya in your house or incense stick in your house, just replace this with ghee ka diya. This helps a lot. Third thing, these are simplistic things, like, she was saying, Nilima ma'am was talking about, replacing brooming with the vat mopping. We can do it. Most of our house are a tiled house. We should do it basically by default. Fourth, I'll say, it's more of a hygiene issue for every one of us. The more hygiene you maintain, the things are simplistic. Even keeping our shoes outside is a bigger IAQ shift, basically. It's a paradigm shift. We'll start thinking about it. And we have to make it more personal, basically. This is what I believe, with much more visibility around the kind of pollutants we have with the monitoring, obviously. These are my recommendation for this.
Thank you so much.
Incense sticks not to be used.
Yes, at all.
So, yeah.
And also, I would like to add one more thing, because there were many questions around plants. People buy plants from the nurseries, and they can be laced with a lot of, the fertilizers into it. It's a bigger problem.
Fertilizers, mold,
yes,
problems with not maintained. Yes.
So whenever you buy them, properly rinse them twice, thrice, 4 times in water, proper water. We've done a lot of research. Like in our office also, you'll find a lot of, there are mood lifters. You experience your air with the plants when the leaves move. Their stomata should be clean. We have seen in people's house plants with lots of dust deposited on this. They are not going to help you in any way. They should be clean, the leaves should be clean, and they should be healthy. There should be no chemical in the soil, actually. This is how it should be. Thank you so much.
Dry plants and artificial plants not to be used.
Yes. Plastic plants will be the solution.
No. Oh, they like microplastic to your life.
Okay, Barun, your final recommendation word for this.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Tanmay, once again. I'm going to do a shameful plug, but it's a very simple plug. How to Grow Fresh Air. It was a book written by my father-in-law, Mr. Kamal Mittal, and myself. And it's got a lot of very, very simple ideas and strategies and tactics of what one can do in their homes. And what Dr. Nilima said, I think a lot of that is covered in this book in terms of reducing your clutter and everything else. A couple of other things I'd like to add that perhaps have been missed out is in terms of nail polish remover. It produces toluene. So when you use a nail polish remover, go to the washroom and do it and keep your exhaust fan on so that the fumes from the nail polish remover go out of the house rather than linger on and you keep breathing that toluene. In terms of the exhaust fan for the kitchen, of course, you've got to keep them on and create the negative pressure within that kitchen space so that the paratha smell isn't in the entire house, but just goes out of the kitchen directly. Gas stoves, a lot of cooking questions did come up earlier. One of the key things that we got to realize is that the fuel that we use for our cooking, i.e. a cylinder or a gas cylinder, if the stove is not right, i.e. if a yellow flame is coming out, that means combustion is not happening correctly and more particulates will come out because of that. Whereas a blue flame is the right flame color to have, which reduces, it doesn't eliminate it, but it reduces the emissions of particulates and harmful gases. So ensure that your stove is giving out completely a blue flame versus even a slight hint of a yellow, even a dot of a yellow in the flame is not a good thing. So there are a couple, these are simple things and there are many more in the book. However, the one thing I want to really end with is the awareness piece. People only think of indoor air quality in the winter months. They actually pack up their air purifiers and put them away just like the heaters in the summer and monsoons. And we have clients who do that, even after telling them and explaining to them that even in the summer, even in the monsoon, when it is 50 AQI or 60 AQI, if you can use your air purifier and bring it down to zero, it actually helps you. It actually makes you healthier. So there are not only short-term repercussions to indoor air quality because we are spending 80-90% of our time indoors, but there are long-term impacts. It's not just about our lungs. It's not just about the health in terms of our respiratory health, but this air pollution actually, because it is so small, it is invisible, it goes into many other organs of the human body. Today, we are seeing cardiac issues, stroke, kidney failure, liver failure, because of air pollution. Pregnant women have been researched to find particulate matter and other pollutants in the placenta, and birth weight of children is reducing because of that exposure to pollution. So the awareness around this topic is so critical and important that people need to understand that this is a year-long phenomena, not just in India, but globally, and we all need to take ownership of our health in our hands and do something about this.
Thank you. I think you've ended it with a perfect understanding, because we know countries that have struggled with pollution outdoors, taken years to fix it, are now still facing drastic, dire consequences of poor indoor air quality. And there's a lot of focus now on health and indoor air quality, even in places where the pollution levels are low. We must take this in a way that we don't have to come back and address this later. We are addressing all our challenges with pollution. There's so much happening in the country. At the same time, indoor air quality also needs maybe even more focus than that. And we'll come back to all of you for further sessions. Thank you for absolutely.
Mr. Barun should give us his book, all the panelists a copy of his book.
Yes, we'll get that.
Would love to, ma'am. If you send me
Tanmay, you have to do that.
Done. We'll make that book available. We'll also share the link of how to get it for all our participants.
Yes.
And we definitely, as an outcome of this, need to make these, top 20 things that one must do, which can be put on social media or whatever way we communicate to take this thing further. Thank you. We've definitely overshot our time. We could have gone on for another hour and still not run out of questions. Thank you. Over to you, Dipanjali.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for an eye-opening discussion on the sources of indoor air pollution, ongoing studies, best practices and initiatives shaping the narrative around indoor air quality. Once again, thank you to our incredible panelists, and a big thank you to our audience for being a part of this Breathe In dialogue. This was an enriching discussion, and we all have some fruitful thought, food for thought and actions, and reminding that small changes can lead to significant improvements. With that, we bring our webinar to a close. Until next time, have a wonderful day, everyone. Goodbye.